Welcome to Zoom In, Zoom Out, your global look at news from Taiwan. I'm Reece Ayers. Taiwan has established itself as the most friendly country in Asia for LGBTQ+ people. And in the past decade, an increase in diversity in the media landscape is reflecting that progress. Earlier this year, a comedy movie titled Marry My Dead Body, which follows a supernatural same-sex marriage, was released on Netflix and took the world by storm. And it's now nominated to represent Taiwanese cinema at the upcoming Oscars. So, how did Taiwan's entertainment and media industry get where it is today? Well, we're joined online by Jay Lin. Jay is the founder of GagaOOLala, which is Taiwan's biggest online streaming platform for queer content. Hello, Jay, and welcome to the program.
Hi, Reece. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, before we zoom in on your work in queer media, can you help us understand some of the context here? So, can you give us an idea of how far back LGBTQ+ characters and storylines go in Taiwanese film and television?
It can go way back. I think there's been queer characters and storylines back from thousands of years ago. But if you're talking about cinema, I think the most seminal work that I would mention here would be The Wedding Banquet by Ang Lee in 1993, which won the Golden Bear Award at the Berlinale Film Festival, the top award. And that really kind of made the Taiwanese audience notice, first of all, this work of art that was comedic, that had a happy ending, and that portrayed queer people in Taiwan as in the US. And then following that, the next year, we had Cai Liang with Vive l'Amour, which also got the Golden Lion at the Biennale, at the Venice Film Festival. Following that, in 1997, Cai Liang again got the Grand Jury Prize at the Venice Festival for The River. So it's kind of become like a tradition for Taiwanese queer content to travel overseas, gets the international artistic acclaim, and then come back to the local audience for a warm reception.
A lot of seminal queer films and programs came out of Taiwan and Hong Kong in the 90s and early 2000s. What about that period of time inspired so much queer content?
So from the political, economic, social context, since the 60s, Taiwan has gone through what is called by many as the economic miracle. And so in the 90s, a lot of people have reached a relatively stable economic situation. Also politically, the government officially removed martial law. And in 1996, we had our first democratic election for Taiwan's presidency. And so that set kind of like a foundation for the cultural aspect, the art aspects to be more vibrant and more daring to explore non-conventional content. Also, I think we had a wave of immigration from Taiwan to other parts of the world in the 70s and 80s. And a lot of those talents, whether they came back to start the semiconductor industry, or the likes of Ang Lee, who trained their arts overseas and came back to make films. We had a lot more intercultural and international mixing of ideas that turned into projects that push the boundaries a little bit. So that slowly, with one film after another, gaining more audiences over time, we finally, have the achievement that you mentioned before with Marry My Dead Body being a global hit on Netflix and being nominated by Taiwan as the foreign contender for Oscars Best Foreign Movie.
So why is it important for a place like Asia to have this representation? Where is the demand coming from? And can queer movies and television programs, can they impact societal norms and attitudes?
I think we all know that gays are everywhere. Maybe in certain countries, they are still facing a lot of discriminatory sort of policies, or even punishable by death for being who they are. So they're hidden, they're not out. But gays are for sure everywhere. And I think with the power of cinema and with storytelling, is that we are able to showcase to the world the lives of LGBTQ people. And that really gives them a lot of strength to know that they're really not alone and that they're really not suffering these type of issues in a very singular, isolated environment. And also, it gives the LGBTQ people who are less free in countries around the world more desire to reach out to the community, even communities outside of their countries, for strength and unity. So I think this storytelling really has the power of connecting people's mind, soul, and willingness to fight for a better future.
Jay, now I want to zoom in on your work with GagaOOLala. But before we hear your thoughts, we're going to play a report from one of your most recent programs. Boys Like Boys is Taiwan's first ever gay dating show. Have a look.
Taiwan's first same-sex dating reality program, called Boys Like Boys, features a diverse cast of queer men. Taiwan became the first country in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage in 2019 and hosts Asia's biggest pride event each October, with over 170,000 participants this year. In comparison, 6 contestants on a dating show may not seem like many, but to the people living in the show's reality, it was an opportunity to present same-sex romance as part of the everyday.
But I think that change is always gradual. But this definitely marks a huge step for the LGBT community. And I'm really glad that we have, in a way, sort of normalized that, because we've always seen a lot of heterosexual dating shows and, heterosexual relationships in movies and series for as long as they've existed. And it's very beautiful to see that Taiwan is being a leader in normalizing that for the queer community as well.
So Jay, we just saw some clips from Boys Like Boys, a dating show for gay and bisexual men. What was the driving force behind the production of this show?
What I find so gratifying about rolling out Boys Like Boys, which is Taiwan's first gay dating reality series, that we have moved the needle from scripted content to non-scripted. And why is that significant? It's significant because nowadays in Taiwan, after so many years of fighting for marriage equality and after 21 years of Taipei Pride and all the work by various civil societies and politicians and individuals, we have come to a place where we're able to bring actual human beings, not characters, human beings, to be willing to participate in a reality series where we have 20 cameras following them around as they explore their desire for happiness, dating, and love. I think it's very gratifying to showcase that, because we're at a moment in time in Taiwan now where many people can feel at ease about being themselves and not face repercussions for being who they are on screen.
Talking about content curation, how do you choose and develop your shows? What are your market researchers telling you?
So GagaOOLala has been around for 7 years. And initially, when we were curating the content for the platform, actually, we looked out mostly at the queer film festivals around the world, mostly focused on the West. And so the content that we had were mostly Western content that are feature films, and playing mostly to the LGBTQ audience. But over time, we began to look actually more at content more specifically from Asia, because we realized that actually even the Western audiences were not as interested in consuming Western content, because probably they have that in their other sort of media avenues, but more looking at the different stories and different content coming from various parts of Asia, whether it be South Korea, Japan, Thailand, Taiwan, Philippines, Vietnam, India, for example. So our platform has switched from like a 70-30 mix of initially 70% Western content, 30% Asian content, to now being about 70 to 80% Asian content and 20% from the rest of the world.
And so you mentioned that there's kind of been a shift in demographics there in terms of where the content's coming from. Is the content, is it changing in other ways? And do the changes in the content, do they reflect changes that are happening in society?
Oh yeah, I think these are all interconnected. Content in the 90s and in the year around the 2000s, they generally are still focused on, you know, coming out, homophobia, societal pressure, self insecurities. But now I think a lot of the content that we're seeing are more focused on love, romance, pursuit of happiness, a lot of romantic comedy. And so I think the content is becoming diversified. And why is it becoming more diversified? Because I think the audience base have also expanded over time. Whereas before, the audience base for LGBTQ content, queer content, was mostly to the LGBTQ community. But now I think that has expanded significantly to include, like I mentioned, women or the general audience as well. And the budget for sure have also gotten a lot higher. And there's increase in quantity, increase in quality that is reflective of the expanding demographic of this content.
Finally, Jay, what's the next frontier for queer content and for you guys at GagaOOLala?
I think for us is to do more international collaborations. In my opinion, in Asia right now, there are four major hubs where a lot of queer content are being produced. Japan, the home of BL, South Korea, the home of K-drama, Thailand, the country that has produced the most queer content over the past few years, and Taiwan, the freest country to create a lot of content that might not be able to be shown in other parts of Asia. So I hope that in the future, there is a more collaboration amongst the production companies, amongst the directors and investors, not just these four hubs, but specifically four hubs to kind of bring the momentum for greater Asian collaboration. I hope that content partners from other sectors within the content industry will come on board as well, whether that be publishing or music or gaming or what have you. And I think this market is continuing to expand, and it does have a global impact. So I think it's very exciting times for Asian queer content as we speak.
Amazing. I look forward to it. Jay, thank you so much. That was very, very insightful. And I think we've all learned something about queer media, and I'm excited to see where it's going. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much, Reece.
This has been Zoom In, Zoom Out. For more stories from TaiwanPlus, you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube. But for now, thanks for joining us.
For more news from Taiwan and around the world, go to TaiwanPlus.com and download the Taiwan Plus app.